Hello YouTube Pipers, Double Pipe here, aka Rick. Before I do anything else, I'm going to read off the 15 names that I have, or the 15 folks that are engaged in making VRs for this contest. Okay, because someone asked that I let you all know who is on this. Number 1, Armchair Piper. Number 2, Life with a Pipe. Number 3, Central Cal Piper. Number 4, Maine North Woods Piper. 5, Cactus Piper. 6, Pipe Chats with Josh. 7, Pater Piper. I like that one. 8, Wheelchair Piper. 9, Smarty Bob, or as I know him, Roy. 10, Paladin Piper. 11, Carolina Kirk 70. 12, Clays 8122. 13, Piperman 1861. 14, Night Train Piper. 15, Porch Piperton. Now I've got 8 of these folks have done a VR. Life with a Pipe, he has done one. Central Cal Piper, he has done one. Cactus Piper, he has done one. Pater Piper, he has done one. Wheelchair Piper, done one. Smarty Bob, aka Roy, he's done one. Paladin Piper has done one. Carolina Kirk 70, Clays 8122 has done one. Pipeman 1861, Night Train Piper has done one. Wait, Pipeman 1861 has not done one, sorry, or at least I haven't seen one. But Night Train Piper has done one. Thus far, 15 people, 9 have put up their VRs, and I've watched all of those. If anybody else has put one up and I've missed it, please let me know. That's that. Now, if I need to read these off every time I make a VR or a post, let me know. But that's that. Now, I have another stogie. Aladino A. Cameroon. Julio R. Iroa. Now I'm going to try and cut this so I don't make it shred up. Let's see. About right there. Not bad. Not a bad cut. Now, I was told I need a long match. So, that's the longest match I got. I always have trouble with these. They don't like to light for me. No, that's not going to do it. Seems like those edges want to burn more than the middle. Just like my camels. I'm going to tell you a story about Clyde's brother's car. I got my license when I was 14. And from 14 to 16, I could drive the car from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening as long as I had an experienced driver in the car with me on the passenger side. And that day came when I could drive all night long if I wanted to by myself. I turned 16. And that year, we had a homecoming. And at homecoming, all the guys who had convertibles would get their convertible. One of the participants in the homecoming queen would sit on the back, feet on the seat, bum on the car itself, and wave at the crowd as they rode around the side of the football field and around and back out. I could drive at night. So I went over to Clyde's brother's house. He and I had a checkered relationship for most of my life. I was the one who broke his sword. I was the one who told Grandmama he was drunk. So anyway, I went over to Grandmama didn't believe in drinking. She was upset. Clyde was upset. Granddaddy was upset. Everybody was upset with me. Even though it was my uncle who had been drinking. Ain't that something? Well, I thought to myself, boy, I'd love to have one of those homecoming queen participants sitting in my car and me driving her around. And he had a beautiful 1957 red and white Chevrolet convertible. So I went over and I explained to him, I said, I'd like to ask you a favor. He said, what? Already he didn't like it. I said, I'd like to use your car this coming Friday. You want to use my car? What you want to use my car for? It's a convertible. He said, yeah, I know it's a convertible. What you want to use it for? I explained to him about the homecoming and the girls sitting in the back seat or above the back seat with their feet on the leather on the back seat. He didn't like that part. He said, you mean you want to give one of these girls the attention they need driving around the field? I said, yes, that's what I want. He said, you'll take care of my car? Me? You know I'll take care of your car. I don't want to hurt that thing. You could ask me that? I thought to myself. Not as good as the one I had yesterday. By the way, the one I had yesterday, the lighter the wrapper, I was told, the less nicotine there is. Well, I smoked it pretty close to the nub. And when I got up and put that out, it reminded me a little bit of when I smoked those Pall Malls. That nicotine, I'm just not used to it anymore, and it just snuck up on me. Let me tell you, woo. But anyway, back to the story. He said, you promise you're not going to do anything. You're not going to scratch it. I'll treat it like it was mine. He looked at me. he was dubious about the whole thing. He said, "You gonna get a pretty girl to sit in that car?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get me, because all these contestants are pretty. Doesn't matter which one it is, gonna be a pretty girl." He said, "All right, all right, I'll let you use it." I couldn't believe it. I said, "Thank you. Oh my, what time do I need to be over here to get it?" He said, "You said it's Friday, right? What time's the game? What time's the parade or whatever it was around there?" I said, "I think the game's around 7, so the parade will probably be from 6 to 7. And he said, "Okay, well, come over and pick it up about 5:30. That's okay. I'll give you the keys and hope you enjoy it." I said, "I know I will. Gonna have me a pretty girl on the back. Woo!" So all that week I was telling my friends, I'm gonna get a convertible. It's a 1957 Chevrolet, red and white, convertible. They all said, "Wow, you lucky dog, you." I said, "I know it." So that day, that Friday, when the thing was going to occur, they had a big bonfire, and I was talking to somebody who was heading this thing up, and I said, "How do you choose who sits in the back of the car?" And she said, "You just drive your car up here, and as you drive up, we'll put one of the ladies in." I said, "Okay. What time do I need to be here?" She said, "About 5:45. So, okay, I'll be here 5:45. So that afternoon, about 5:30, I was at my uncle's house. My other uncle, not Clyde, my other uncle, his brother. The one that was never too pleased with me. Got to his house, knocked on the door. Came there, he said, "Is it that time already?" I said, "Yeah, it's Friday, it's 5:30. He said, "Okay, here are the keys." So I left the car I was driving there and got into his car, and the seats were leather, like red leather. Nice, beautiful car. Bucket seat. Well, I backed it up and put it on the highway and drove up to the school, drove back to the back where the playing field was. One of my buddies from that time saw me driving that car, and he ran over there and said, "Can I ride with you?" And I said, "I don't see why not, as long as you don't mess with the pretty girl in the back." You got to realize the pretty girls were 12th graders, and I was, let's see, 16. I think I was in like 9th grade. So they wouldn't look at me. But I could sure look at them. And to have one in the back seat, I got a rear view mirror. So anyway, buddy and me drove up to where the line was starting, all the cars. And the person who was putting it together came over and said, "Wow, that's a mighty fine looking automobile you got there." I said, "I know it." She said, "Where in the world you get this?" I said, "It's my uncle's." She said, "Boy, he must have money." I said, "Well, he's not hurting for anything, that's for sure." Anyway, I said, "Who's going to be sitting in my car?" And she said, "This young lady right here." Oh, she gorgeous. I can't remember her name or anything, but Lord, she was a looker. Anyway, she My buddy had to get out and push the seat forward so she could get in. And then he helped her up onto the ledge behind the seat where she sat. And she said, "You're not going to drive fast, are you?" I said, "No, I'm not going to drive fast. I'm just going to, follow the guys up in front of me." She said, "Well, don't push it down real hard and take off real fast." And I said, "I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that?" She says, "So you can have me fall off the back." I said, "I'm not going to do anything like that." So anyway, we all got lined up, got ready. My buddy was sitting next to me. They said, "Okay, we're starting the run now." And the people up front started slowly moving forward. And the girl behind me said, "Now you take it real slow because I got to wave at all these people so they can see me. They got to vote for me to be queen." And I said, "Okay, we'll do that." So we drove up, got in front of the bleachers on this side, the playing field on that side, drove real slow so that she wouldn't feel distressed or anything. Excuse me. And she's waving at the crowd like she's supposed to, like the Queen of England. And we drove on past the bleachers, go around to the goal post, do the other side, come around, and exit where we had entered. And that was the parade. Homecoming queen. There would be a dance afterward, after the game, the homecoming dance. Now I wasn't going to go to that because I was just in ninth grade. Well, maybe no, I didn't. It's 10th grade that I went. But anyway, we went around, parked the car. I put the top up so the dew wouldn't cause a slick, wet seat. Closed it up tight, locked it. Went to see the game. We watched the game. We usually won homecoming. I can't remember who we played. There was one team I think we won one time with that team. It was a team called Somerville High. They had some big boys on their team. That was a country, a country school. They were some good players, but they were big too. I think there was only the one, and I believe it was the last year that I was in high school, when I was in 12th grade, that the team won against Somerville. There was a rumor going around that Somerville held their seniors back so that their team could be even bigger. I don't know how true that was, but could have been. Who knows? Anyway, I didn't go to the dance. Had a couple of other buddies run over and see the car. They said, "Wow, that thing's a beauty. Can we ride with you?" I said, "I don't see why not. I got to take it back to my uncle now. He's expecting me back." So they all jumped in, two in the back and the two of us in the front. And I took it out to the front of the school and turned off on the highway. And I floored it. Had a little more power than I was used to. But of course, I had the seat in the right place this time. But once I floored it, I said, "Whoa, I better not do that again." So I eased back. It was a powerful engine under that hood. Then got to the stoplight, stopped there, turned green, I went across. And as we were tooling down the highway, I guess we were doing 35 or 40, somebody said, "Why don't you put this top down?" I said, "Okay." Oh, shite, what have I done? That wind took that like a parachute. The mechanism worked fine though, and it took it down. But boy, when that thing went flying up like the wind had just taken it, that scared the heck out of me. I thought I had broken my uncle's car and he was going to kill me. But it went down, settled down. They made those cars really good back in those days. These guys were hooting and hollering, boy, you nearly screwed up there, didn't you, Croucher? I said, yeah, I wasn't thinking at all. But anyway, with that mild, fearful scare, we drove on to my uncle's house and pulled up in the driveway, and the guys got out and went over and got in my car, or my parents' car, because I'd left it there to get back. And he came out of the door, and I was putting the top back up, and he said, how you like that car? I said, man, this is one fine automobile, and that when that thing goes back, it goes back, doesn't it? He said, yeah, they do. They do good work with these cars. And I said, man, oh man, am I glad they do. So I said, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. He said, how pretty was the girl you had? I said, she was gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous. He said, did you make any time? I said, she doesn't want anything to do with a ninth grader. She's a senior. He said, oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were going to make some time with this girl. That's why I gave you the car. I said, well, I appreciate you giving me the car, but no, I didn't make any time with the girl. He said, well, next time. I said, I don't think there'll be a next time. I don't want to take the chance of hurting your car. He said, well, I was going to say, next time, maybe you should try, no matter what grade she's in. I said, I wouldn't know how to do that. He said, well, get Clyde to tell you. I said, I don't know his secret either. He said, all right, glad you enjoyed it. Glad you brought it back safe. I said, yeah, me too. Handed him the keys, went and got in my car and cranked it up, backed out. Took all these boys home, went to the house, and my mother said, how did it work out? Did you hurt his car? I said, no, almost, but no. She said, what do you mean almost? I told her about opening or hitting the top so it went back when the wind caught it like it was going to rip it off the car. And she said, Ricky, don't you ever think before you do things? I said, well, I'll definitely think about that a second time. I was really scared I had torn up his car. But anyway, that was fun. It was a fun evening. The guys got a hoot out of it. I mean, we didn't do anything crazy. We just drove it back to his house. Anyway, another beautiful car, another beautiful year for a car. And Clyde's was red and black, and his brother's was white and red. So Clyde's was never a convertible, though. Not bad. Not familiar with it. I'm afraid of that nicotine rush again. Should I read this list again? One more time. Armchair Piper, Life with a Pipe, Central Cal Piper, Maine Northwoods Piper, Cactus Piper, Pipe Chats with Josh, Pater Piper, Pater Piper, Wheelchair Piper, Smarty Bob, Paladin Piper, Carolina Kirk 70, Clays 8122, Pipe Man 1861, Night Train Piper, and Porch Piperton. All right. I think you've had enough of me. One more smoke. I don't have many left. Well, I got enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's plenty. Take care, folks. Appreciate you coming over and watching me. Excuse me. I don't know if that's the cigar or the tea. Anyway. Good to see you. God bless you. Till the next time. Bye-bye.